Tony worked for 33 years and never allowed himself more than 2 consecutive weeks away from the office. Every single year, he maxed out his 401k contributions. He kept his lifestyle simple. Vacations were postponed. Hobbies were postponed. The version of life he actually wanted was postponed. Everything was pushed into the future because retirement at 65 was the target. He had mapped it out precisely. By 65, his portfolio would reach $2.1 million. Then he would travel the world. Then he would learn to sail. Then he would finally reclaim the time he had sacrificed for more than 3 decades. At 62, Tony suffered a heart attack. He survived, but survival came with conditions. His cardiologist warned him that international travel would now carry real risk. Physically demanding activities, especially something like sailing, were no longer advisable. 3 years later, retirement arrived exactly on schedule. The account balance showed $2.1 million. His body, however, could not do most of what he had saved for. He can take slow walks. He can sit in front of a television. He can sit on a beach, but not swim far from shore. The capital is intact. The vitality is not. He saved everything for a finish line that shifted the moment he crossed it. His 30s, 40s, and 50s were spent inside offices and conference rooms, building wealth for a future version of himself who was supposed to be strong, energetic, and capable. That version never arrived. The money is substantial. The body that could have used it well is damaged. Tony followed every piece of conventional retirement advice. He is deeply unhappy.
My name is Rob, and I spent far too much time analyzing why postponing nearly all enjoyment of life until age 65 is an enormous wager on a future that is not guaranteed. If you are grinding now so you can live later, if you have been delaying meaningful experiences because you believe life begins at retirement, consider subscribing and supporting this channel if this perspective adds value for you. What I am about to explain is not an argument against saving for retirement. It is not encouragement to spend recklessly. It is about recognizing that the traditional 40-year nonstop work model optimizes for the wrong outcome. Most people optimize for the highest possible net worth at the end. What you should be optimizing for is the intelligent use of energy across your entire lifespan. I call this the mini-retirement framework. It focuses on taking structured breaks while you are still young enough to do things that require physical capacity, rather than large sums of money. There is a belief quietly draining your best years. Save aggressively, retire at 65, delay gratification for 4 decades, and then collect your reward at the end. Work through your physical prime, enjoy freedom in your 60s. That, we are told, is financial maturity. This narrative is everywhere. Financial advisors promote it. Retirement calculators assume it. Employers design benefits around it. The entire structure rests on one fragile assumption, that you will be healthy and energetic at 65. Evidence suggests that is unlikely. A 2023 report from the National Institute on Aging indicates that physical performance, including strength, endurance, and mobility, typically peaks in the late 20s and begins a gradual decline after the mid-30s. By 65, the average individual has lost roughly 30% of muscle mass and about 40% of aerobic capacity compared to peak levels. You are not the same at 65 that you were at 35. Your options narrow. Certain experiences disappear entirely. Tony wanted to sail. At 35, he could have trained, practiced on weekends, even attempted a transatlantic crossing. At 65, with heart damage, it is no longer possible. Dreams do not adapt to biological limits. Biology sets the boundaries. This situation is not unusual.
According to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, around 60% of Americans over 65 live with at least one chronic health condition that restricts physical activity. That means the probability of reaching traditional retirement age with full physical capability is worse than a coin flip. You are staking your best years on a future that statistics suggest may disappoint you. Let us examine the numbers more closely. Tony earned an average of $78,000 annually during his career. Suppose he had taken a 6-month sabbatical every 5 years, starting at age 30. That would amount to 6 sabbaticals before 65, totaling 3 full years of unpaid leave distributed across his career. Over those 3 years, he would have forfeited approximately $234,000 in gross income. But consider what he would have gained. He could have traveled extensively in his 30s when his body was strong enough to hike mountains. He could have learned sailing in his 40s while his cardiovascular system could still handle it. He could have pursued demanding adventures when his energy levels were highest and his obligations more flexible. Financially, the cost is smaller than it appears. Compound growth accelerates later in the accumulation phase. If Tony had contributed to his 401k for 30 years instead of 33, projections suggest his retirement balance might have reached around $1.8 million rather than $2.1 million. He effectively exchanged 3 years of peak health for roughly $300,000 in additional end balance. That exchange deserves scrutiny. 3 years of your 30s and 40s are not recoverable. $300,000 can be earned again. One version of Tony retires with $2.1 million and severe physical limitations. Another version retires with $1.8 million and 36 months of vivid experiences from a time when his body was capable. Which version is truly wealthier? The spreadsheet favors the first. Life experience favors the second.
There is another uncomfortable reality. The financial system subtly encourages maximizing savings and minimizing time off because that benefits institutions. Employers prefer continuous productivity. Financial firms collect fees on assets under management for decades. No one in that system is incentivized to advise a 35-year-old to take 6 months off to travel Southeast Asia. It does not increase assets under management. It does not maximize corporate output. Yet, a 2022 survey by the Employee Benefit Research Institute reported that 41% of retirees left the workforce earlier than planned due to health issues or disability. Nearly half did not reach their intended retirement timeline in the condition they expected. Tony is not an anomaly. He represents a common outcome. At this point, many people respond the same way. Rob, most people cannot afford to take 6 months off every 5 years. That sounds unrealistic. The truth is more nuanced. Most cannot afford it at their current spending level. They can afford it if they deliberately structure their lives around making it possible. The mini-retirement framework requires living below your means during working years so that you save for both traditional retirement and periodic sabbaticals. It is not about higher spending. It is about strategic allocation. Consider the math. If you earn $78,000 annually and save 20%, that is $15,600 per year. Over 5 years, that totals $78,000 in retirement contributions. If, instead, you save 25%, that becomes $19,500 annually, or $97,500 over 5 years. The additional $19,500 accumulated during that period can finance a modest 6-month sabbatical. You are not increasing total lifetime spending. You are redistributing time between continuous employment and intentional breaks. A 6-month stay in Southeast Asia or Central America, living modestly and avoiding luxury accommodations, can cost between $15,000 and $20,000. The objective is not indulgence. It is using time and physical capacity while you possess them. There is a fundamental distinction between money and energy. Money can be regenerated. You can earn more. Energy cannot be regenerated. You are given a finite amount, and it diminishes over time. Every year you postpone a physically demanding aspiration increases the likelihood that it becomes impractical or impossible. At 35, Tony could have learned to sail with a few months of instruction and moderate expense. At 65, no amount of wealth restores cardiovascular resilience. The opportunity is permanently closed. The same logic applies to hiking Patagonia, learning to surf in Costa Rica, or backpacking across Europe. These experiences scale with physical capacity, not financial capital. Unused energy in your 30s does not carry forward into your 60s, it expires. If you want to reduce the risk of sacrificing your best years to an uncertain future, begin with clear calculations. Determine how much you need for a 6-month break. If you can structure your lifestyle around $3,000 per month, you need $18,000 for 6 months. Save an additional $3,000 annually for 6 years, and the fund is complete. This pool of money is separate from retirement accounts. You continue contributing to your 401k or IRA. The sabbatical fund exists alongside it.
Second, define the experience now. Do not wait until you have the funds. Specify it in concrete terms. In 6 years, I will spend 6 months hiking the Appalachian Trail. In 5 years, I will spend 6 months studying Spanish in Mexico. Specificity strengthens commitment. Third, negotiate unpaid leave if possible. If not, be prepared to transition roles after your sabbatical. Many employers view structured time away positively when presented as intentional growth rather than aimlessness. Fourth, design the sabbatical around physical engagement rather than passive consumption. Avoid 6 months of inactivity. Choose experiences that require strength, stamina, coordination, and resilience while those capacities remain strong. Right now, postponing everything until 65 feels prudent. It aligns with what authority figures recommend. It feels disciplined. But the underlying assumption may be flawed. Tony worked 33 years, deferred nearly everything meaningful, and reached retirement with financial security but diminished physical ability. He did not achieve the outcome he envisioned. The decades when he could have sailed, climbed, and traveled intensely are gone. The money cannot restore them. You can continue working non-stop for 4 decades and hope your health cooperates at the end. Or you can integrate deliberate pauses now, use your physical capacity while it exists, and accept a slightly smaller portfolio in exchange for experiences that are biologically time-sensitive. Tony cannot reclaim his 30s. If you are still in yours, the decision is still yours to make. If this perspective challenges the way you view retirement, consider supporting the channel. I will see you in the next video.